Well, ladies and gents, I'm Mosasaurus reaction, and this is how Mosasaurus broke the game by the channel TierZoo. Yeah, Mosasaurus. I don't know what that is. It's gonna be fun. I read a dinosaur tier list yesterday, so I'm like, why the hell not? It sounds like something like that. So yeah, I wrote quite a few TierZoo videos from TierZoo videos already. Check out the cast. There's a playlist I created for it. Check out the playlist too, like Real Life Lore, Holy Sarcastic Production, Internet Historian. I guess Gazgazat in a nutshell. And yeah, let's do this one. Damn. Look at that shit. T-Rex is just brute. It survived T-Rex's bite. I mean, that's just ridiculous. I mean, T-Rex is just brute, isn't it? I'm just, bit it and threw it away. I guess it depends on when which area T-Rex attacks, I guess. Yeah, so Mosasaurus is just dinosaur in the water, is that it? Okay.
The dinosaur clips in this video are from documentaries you can find on CuriosityStream. More on them at the end of the video. Mosasaurus, one of the most feared marine builds in the history of the game. The Mesozoic expansion is often referred to as the Age of Reptiles. And while it is true that the Archosaurs, the reptile faction containing builds like the dinosaurs, pterosaurs, birds, and crocodiles, did indeed dominate the Mesozoic, the same cannot be said for the other faction of reptiles, the lizard. For them, it was quite the opposite. They spent a good portion of that expansion's metagame getting griefed hard by the top-tier dinosaurs and pterosaurs. However, they did eventually adapt, and by the end of it, there was a lizard just as powerful as the most overpowered dinosaurs, the Mosasaurus. But how did the lizard player base adapt in order?
What I don't understand is why T-Rex was in the water at the beach to begin with.
To survive the hostile dinosaur meta. Let's look at the specific traits that the ancient lizard mains spec'd into in order to gain a foothold in the Mesozoic meta. Lizards tend to have below average base stats. Their bite attacks aren't very powerful, usually only used for grabbing targets below their weight class, like insects and other small builds. They don't usually incorporate other combat techniques into their build like sharp claws, venom, or team strategies either, and instead try to rely on more janky gimmicks like intimidating frills, detachable tails, and tether grabs to get by. This works because their cold blood requires a lot less food to keep their playthrough going, so they don't actually need to be that active or powerful in order to avoid starvation. However, this isn't true for all lizard builds. The Monitor Lizard faction, which includes famous high-tier lizards like the Komodo and Parenti, break with that trend and spec into faster metabolism, ramping up their base stats, but forcing them to play a bit more actively. It was this player base that developed the early Mosasaur build, by avoiding the common gimmicks other lizard mains went for, and instead choosing a difficult, unconventional set of abilities, including water mobility and, most surprisingly, the live birth respawn perk. Having a terrible, completely one-sided matchup against dinosaurs and pterosaurs meant that when the pressure was on, the Monitor Lizard player base's best option wasn't to run, nor was it to hide. Their best option was to completely switch up their playstyle and become a marine build. This synergized extremely well with their live respawn perk, because it let them avoid the spawn killing that was so oppressive to the other reptiles.
These reptiles are like, nah, fuck that. I'm not gonna run, I'm not gonna hide, I'm gonna do something that nobody has done before.
At the time. While builds like the turtle frequently got their nests raided, the Proto-Mosasaurus build could respawn in water away from the dinosaur spawn killers, but in too shallow of water for top-tier sharks and fish to grief them. It was actually the perfect environment for them to thrive in, and eventually they just ended up staying in the water and not even bothering with returning to the terrestrial server to hunt. Their wide-hinged jaws, which were decent at grabbing prey on land, were perfect for gulping down fish. Their success really started to snowball from here. The more evolution points they spent on water mobility perks, the more points they earned and were able to put right back into those upgrades. And they were such efficient hunters that they could support the added cost of gigantism, Mosasaurus shot up to a dominant top-tier spot faster than almost any other build in the history of the game, outcompeting ichthyosaurs in the process, and driving them to drop their characters entirely in favor of more viable marine builds. Mosasaurus mains had everything they needed to dominate the late Cretaceous meta, so let's go through all the things that made them so broken. Their first OP trait is also their most obvious one, their bite strength, which was on par with that of a T-Rex. It's hard to overstate how devastating a bite from Mosasaurus was, but suffice it to say that the other top-tier ocean predator builds at the time would all get one-shot by the Mosasaurus' bite. Zifactinus, one of the most powerful fish builds in—
So basically this, just went, Mosasaurus, just, went inside the water, became aquatic build, and just beefed up the bite strength and everything. It just became OP. Just jumped to the S tier apparently.
In the history of the game, paled in comparison to the Mosasaurus' strength. The Ammonite, a cephalopod that went for a tank-style build, probably had the best armor of any ocean build at that time, but even their shells weren't sturdy enough to save them from the crushing bite of a mosasaur. Obviously, its size was equally as overpowered, but for reasons you might not expect. You see, because of its immense size, Mosasaurus wasn't particularly mobile. It generally had to ambush other players in order to land a hit with its overpowered jaw.
Yeah, that is so good. When it comes to size, I guess aquatic build are the best at it. I mean, if you are in the water, you don't have to put a cap how big you can get. That's why blue whales are so damn big. I mean, in the water, you don't have to worry about you collapsing under your own weight. You're basically in the water. You can just float there. So, weight doesn't become that big of an issue. So these things basically went inside the water, became so big, and had the bite strength of T-Rex. That's just OP right there. Just few stats, don't even have to have that kind of complex stat. Just 3 or 4 stats overpowered, and that's it.
Even tank builds like the Ammonite could outspeed it if they saw it coming. However, being the biggest ocean build in the entire server has one very important advantage. It gives you control over the surface of the water. See, the surface of the water is one of the most advantageous positions to be in when attempting to ambush another player who is above the surface. The reflective surface of the water grants a massive stealth bonus, making it easy to get within striking range of players who would normally be able to escape easily due to their high mobility. This is a double-edged sword though, as being on the surface of the water leaves you vulnerable not only to attacks from the marine players below, but also from aerial hunters above, both of which there were no shortage of in the Cretaceous meta. This disadvantage is pretty much nullified by the Mosasaurus' size though. The main enemy of the giant unkillable behemoth style build, at least in the late game when they've already reached their full size, is starvation, not attacks from players.
Yeah.
Mosasaurus abused this tactic to the absolute limit, frequently taking down even the most powerful dinosaur builds in the game if they ever got careless at the water's edge, and also turning the tables on the exact pterosaur
Mosasaurus can take down sauropods? Damn.
builds that specialize in punishing marine players who stray too close to the water's surface. The last important factor in their success is a continuation of the ability that they spec'd into as lizards, live birth. Mosasaurus retained this ability and expanded upon it by speccing into the parental instinct trait. Pretty much the only time Mosasaurus players were ever vulnerable was during the start of their playthrough, when they didn't have the size necessary to shield them from attacks. This is when the other top-tier ocean builds, like Zifactinus, would launch their assaults on the Mosasaur player base. As smaller lizards, these players would stay in the safety of water that was too shallow for Zifactinus to approach. But even
Yeah, attack Mosasaurus when, Mosasaurus children are young. That will not piss off the, main Mosasaurus. Because, yeah, you just kill its children. Why would it be pissed now? Why would it come after you?
at level 1, Mosasaurus was too large for that, and so without the protection of mother Mosasaur players, Zifactinus would absolutely demolish any hope of survival. But with their help, Mosasaurus' dominion over the Cretaceous ocean meta was basically untouchable. Of course, we all know how the devs reacted to the meta becoming so over-centralized around a select few overpowered builds.
Throwing a
But
rock.
hopefully this video is still useful as an example of how low-tier builds can rise to total dominance with only a few clever build choices and advanced techniques. Who knows what the next breakout success will be in the modern Anthropocene meta?
Yeah, just few changes. Just went into the water, became gigantic creature and had a massive bite strength. It's just few changes.
By the way, the Mosasaurus CGI in this video is from a fantastic new documentary called Amazing Dino World. It's a mini-series.
Yeah, people, go to curiositystream.com/TierZoo and support this channel. This is just great. So Mosasaurus are just, dinosaur type creatures in the water. I mean, I know they are not dinosaurs if they are from the different, chain of family, but still. Damn, this is ridiculous. It just, fucked up T-Rex like that. I mean, you understand that it's slow, so, catching the prey, it's not easy because underwater, everything just runs away. So basically, I think what happened is that it went at the beach, just like how sharks attacks at the beach. It went to the beach and T-Rex and, the dinosaurs were hanging around, it just attacked it. Oh, this is ridiculous. This was great. Alright people, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe, check out the reaction, there's a link in the description, check out the cast for the playlist, check out the end cards, and I'll see you next time.